ForInvest'in en önemli iş ortaklarından birisi, ki hepiniz hemen hemen biliyorsunuz, Amazon Web Services. Niye bu kadar önemli? Çünkü yatırım teknolojilerinden bahsediyorsak, yatırım teknolojilerinin olmazsa olmazı altyapı ve dolayısıyla kendileri bugün zirvemizin de cloud sponsoru aynı zamanda. AWS'in baktığı yerden trendler nasıl görünüyor ve ufukta neler var? AWS Far CTO'su Faraz, Shafiq'ten dinleyeceğiz efendim. Alkışlarınızla sahnede. Aynısı.
Merhaba, Turkey. That's the only Turkish word you'll hear today, by the way. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. You know, there's a joke we say in Silicon Valley that the best thing you can do after a nice break is talk about cloud. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I always joke about this, but what I wanted to do is just share our perspective. We at Amazon, we've been doing AI for 23 years. We literally started our team 23 years ago. We have 130 billion in annual recurring revenue and hundreds of thousands of customers. So one unique perspective that we bring is sharing some insights from the industry, what's happening, especially in the world of AI. And I think the biggest thing when you think about AI that's different from many things that we'll talk about investing and financing is about the ability to actually build. This is a very unique opportunity in the sense that, let me get the slides up, that you can for the first time build at an incredibly fast pace. And so we always start with the question, what if? What if you can build and design whatever you want to build and whatever you want to imagine? Especially the world of investment and banking, that's going to be a big, big thing. We've largely lived in a world defined by cognitive scarcity. What does that mean? That means if you wanted to build a new product or invest in a new market or invest in a new business, you would be limited by the number of people. So I want to build a new business. I would have to hire people, train people, get the right people, and then start engaging. But now we're getting into a world where we believe we are cognitive abundance. That means everyone now has access to ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI tool. So that is like having 500 PhDs at your service tip, literally in your phone. So the big thing is that intelligence is now accessible to everyone. It's not about the people, because previously you needed answers and you needed to go to people. Like if I wanted to see how many, let's just say, games were won by Galatasaray in football, you could now do an internet search and get some answers pretty quickly. But before ChatGPT, I couldn't ask many complex questions. I hope there's some Galatasaray fans here, because I see everyone smiling. But imagine before ChatGPT or before the internet, if I say how many goals were scored by free kicks in the last 10 minutes, then suddenly becomes harder. But in ChatGPT, it's very easy because now you can literally prompt that in. So we believe that the intelligence or access to intelligence is reducing dramatically. In fact, every 10 years, almost every 10 years, we see a massive technological shift. First, it was personal computing, where in 1980s, people said there is no need for a personal computer to be in everyone's house. Now we have 3 or 4 devices. Then became mobile, then cloud was the early disruptor. Eventually, it's HPC or high performance computing. And now we're in the era where all of us actually have access to supercomputers. And why does that matter? Because the next decade of companies will be defined by who captures the value in AI. That's the big thing. So just like I showed in the previous slide, every 10 years there's a massive disruption. That almost exactly maps to how the winners in the company operate. Like oil and gas was big, Well, guess who was the winning company in that era? Oil and gas and industrial. When cloud became big, the winners were the cloud companies. So our belief at AWS is that the next decade, 2030, the winners are going to be entirely different. And they're going to be defined by the companies that capitalize on AI. But the big thing is, how do you think about that? And what are the big drivers? Number one, we've never seen a reduction in time to business value as what we are seeing in this last few years. So just to give everyone an idea, what they're seeing on the screen is how many years it took a company to go from $0 million to $100 million in annual revenue. So from 0 to 100. The average was about 7.5 years. Cloud computing, which is up until Slack, cloud almost cut that by half. Now with AI, we are seeing a massive disruption. Anthropic builds large language models. Cursor is like a virtual data engineer. And Lovable is a virtual app creator. So you can basically say, design a Mavi Jeans website for me, and it does it automatically. That's what Lovable does. Cursor exceeded that number 0 to 100 million in 14 months. And Lovable just exceeded that number in 8 months. So I want you all to really think about that. Going from 0 to 100 million in 8 months. So that's why when we talk about AI, we don't talk about this as something that's going to be futuristic. It is real and it is here today. Another thing to understand, because I've yet to talk to a single company that says, oh, we have enough people, we have enough budget. Everyone has limited budget, limited number of people. And so what AI is enabling us to do is to drive major business results with fewer and fewer number of people. Again, just to give everyone an idea, a company that would be generating 100 million in annual revenue typically had about 3,000 employees. Cloud reduced that almost half to maybe 1/4 with 500, 600 employees. And Cursor just did that with 31 employees. So again, 0 to 100 million in 31 employees. And we believe that will continue happening and happening and happening. And so one of the big things that we see at Amazon is the companies that are going to win in this space. I know this is a room full of investors and bankers and fintech. It will be the value-driven use cases. What does that mean? That means don't look at technology for technology's sake. Don't say, oh, we have the latest version of DeepSeek. How do we use that? Instead, ask the questions, for my business, how can I do something differently with AI? That's the big question. And again, we see this across the board. One of our big customers is Al Rajhi Bank, really big customer in the Middle East. They wanted to launch a digital-only bank in Malaysia. So the idea was have a bank with no physical branches, nothing, launch it in Malaysia. They estimated that it would take anywhere from 24 to 36 months to launch a completely new online bank. Partnering with AWS, we built an AI agentic solution, and they launched Rise Bank in 12 months. So essentially, imagine that, going from 0 to launching a brand new bank, digital only, in 12 months. That's the power of AI. That is what we talk about. So one of the very interesting concepts that I want you all to understand, this is something where I spend a lot of time on, is AI will blur sector boundaries. What does that mean? That means your competition is going to come from new places. So if you are an investor today, you would be looking at other investors as your competition. If you are a nurse, you would be looking at other nurses as your competition. But with AI, if AI can do the job better and it's being designed by some other company, then suddenly the competition of a nurse will be with a virtual nurse, or investor will be with a virtual investor. And guess who will do virtual investors better than other investors? Software companies, companies that can build agents and learn fast. So we introduced this new concept both as a challenge and an opportunity. understand where your strengths are. It will give you new and new opportunities and new areas of focus. So I don't know how many people remember, this is a picture of San Francisco International Airport. I live in San Francisco. And June 2024, there was a global CrowdStrike outage and air travel was halted. I don't know how many people remember that. But essentially for one day, we basically had no airlines flying, literally globally, because of CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is a software provider. They provide software services for security. We went to United Airlines, one of the biggest airlines in the United States, and we had a great conversation with their CIO. And the CIO said something which I want you all to understand. She said, Faraz, if I think about the most important and valuable assets in my company, and you should think about it from your company, what are your most important assets? For an airline, it would be airplanes. Airplanes are really expensive. Number two might be pilots. So pilots are hard to get, very expensive. And then you'll have maybe other things. You wouldn't even think about a $40,000 per year software license as critical. And so in the era of AI, because of that outage, you were not able to fly. There was nothing wrong with the plane, nothing wrong with the pilot, and people were ready to go. But because the IT system had an outage, you couldn't fly. Very important concept to understand that in the world of AI, when everything is going to be automated and powered by agents, you cannot have data or critical data outages. Super important to understand that. Because in the world of AI, that is going to drive very critical things. One tip I'll give everyone is to understand that not all data is created equal. So as you think about, for example, fintech, I guarantee that maybe 10 to 15% of your data drives 80 to 90% of your value. It doesn't matter which company you are, Zorlo, Mavi, those are the only two I know. Maybe Turkish Airlines. It does not matter what bank, what company, what investment strategy you have today. There's going to be only 10 to 15% of your data that'll drive 80 to 90% of your value. So the important thing to understand is which data is critical, and you treat that differently. You treat it with higher priority, higher backup, higher recovery. The other ones you treat it differently. Because remember, you have limited people, limited budgets. You want to approach that very, very selectively. And so one of the core things that we also think about in terms of AI, I think it might be slightly slower to see, but largely humans have been the one generating content. So it doesn't matter if it's social media, it doesn't matter, writing reports or anything. As of this year, AI-generated content has already surpassed human-generated content. So if people were thinking this is happening later, it already happened January of this year. So thanks to ChatGPT, thanks to Claude, it's already exceeded. So we believe that the next few years, the biggest thing will be what we call data as a living resource. What does that mean? That means, for example, again, if you are an investor, you make an investment based on certain decisions or certain point-in-time data. The thing that will be different now is someone will be dynamically checking every day what's going on with literally all the signals around you. The data in your databases will also be written by AI, just like you're using ChatGPT maybe to write an email. So now the AI systems will be writing the data, which again will be consumed by AI systems. That is what we mean is going to happen in the world of AI. And that is going to be very, very critical because I want you all to think about it. How many people have used ChatGPT or Claude? Okay. It's almost 80 to 90%. What did you need to do to use these models? You literally just signed up using your email address. So think about that. You already have access to the world's best AI models. Your employees already have access to the world's best AI models. Your competitors also have access to the same models. So the differentiator is not you using ChatGPT because everyone is using it, just like you saw in the room. The differentiator is going to be your specific data, your specific products, and your specific ecosystem, how you build relationships, how you design products, and how you designed services. It's a super, super key point to take. So as I mentioned, we at Amazon, we've been doing AI for 23 plus years. We've been heavily invested. We use a lot of generative AI techniques. We introduced this new generative AI bot in Amazon Shopping. And that's one of the technologies why we're able to deliver 9 billion plus packages within the very next day. And that was just last year. And that'll continue going on and going on. But I do think we're getting into this very fundamental change in the world of AI. So 1960s is the first time when banks actually started having a dedicated ATM. So banking has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. But 1960s, at least in the US, is when banks started having physical ATMs. Then 1980s, telephone became more and more common. So now you could actually call and say, oh, I want to change my account number, I want to change my billing, what is my balance, things like that. 2000s was the rise of the internet. Now you could actually access your account online, do basic things and basic changes through the web. And then 2010s was, thanks to the launch of iPhone and the App Store, we called or introduced something called Banking 360. And I guarantee everyone in the room has at least one banking app, if not multiple. So that's the reality. But think about it. Every time there was a change, prior to ATMs, 100% of the time you would have to go to the bank. When ATMs came in, if you wanted cash, you would just go to the ATM. When the web came in, then you could do the stuff online. You don't need to go into the bank. So fast forward today, you barely go to the bank. You only go when you maybe need to sign stuff or get cash. So my viewpoint is that we are also going into this massive, massive change starting this year. And the big change is going to be AI agents. So I want you all to picture your company's website. Just think about it, right? Your company's website. This is not a trick question. I'm sure there's going to be, pages and about you or products and solutions and services, right? Like you have things in it. Those websites, so if a Faraz wants to understand what ForInvest does, I will go to the website, try to find information, go through multiple web pages. The web pages need to look nice and clean because, again, they're designed for humans. So what this means is that the future websites are going to look something like this, which does not mean anything to any of us because they're not designed for us. So in the future, the question that I'm getting is, I want to invest $50,000. What is the best way I should invest? I'm a college student doing XYZ, and I'm just going to leave. And it will automatically find the right information from the right places and find that. In the meantime, I believe there's going to be two websites. There's going to be a forinvest.com for humans, and something like this, forinvest.agents, designed specifically for agents. And as you ask ChatGPT these questions, by the way, that's happening today as well. Today, they are going to the human design websites to find that right information. And we believe it's going to dramatically change how we think about SEO. So SEO is search engine optimization. Many of you may be familiar with this. Essentially, you use Google to optimize so that if I search for something, your website comes on top. So there's a new concept that's emerging. It's called MRO, or a model reference optimization, which means that people are now going to be asking ChatGPT, where should I invest my money? What should I do with this? How is my portfolio doing? And so that form is going to actually replace Google search or Google search engine optimization. Now, before the invention of the vehicle, this is a picture of London in 1880. London had tons and tons of horse carriages because there were no cars, right? The engine was not invented, or the Tog was not invented by then. It's Tog, right? That's the electric car. Very nice car. So horse carriages kind of look something like this. But when the engine was invented for the vehicle, the early cars looked exactly like horse carriages, except that the horses were replaced by engines. So the car largely looked the same. It still looks like a horse carriage, with the horses being replaced by the engine. This is exactly what we're doing with AI right now, by the way. We believe the horses are code or programming, and AI will replace the programming. Whereas the big thing to understand is it took many decades for us to recognize the car has another value outside of the engine. Are you building a luxury car? Are you building a normal car? Are you building a race car? And when you think about it, actually, maybe the last 20, 30 years is when the car changed dramatically. And so we believe that in AI, the companies that will win will actually understand this key point, that it's not about just the coding and programming. It's about the car, the other stuff. Are you hiring people and bringing them in the office because you don't want them to use ChatGPT in the interviews? Or are you saying, use whatever you want, I'm going to ask different questions? Is your legal and finance teams part of your investment decisions now, because they are also going to be part of the AI journey? That's what we mean. And so the big thing is, look at the car, not the engine. Look at AI as outside of programming, because programmers will already figure that out very, very quickly. So we call this a holistic approach, and the companies that will win will take a holistic approach. So I always like to leave everyone with what's coming next, like what's the big thing. Before 2022, almost from 1950s till 2022, we've lived in a world where AI predicted things. It's like a calculator. If you do 5 times 6, the answer will always be 30. Always the same. That was the predictive world. Then became assistive, thanks to ChatGPT. Now a human is asking questions. I want to write an email, I want to write a blog post, I want to write an article, can you write it for me? That's AI as an assistant. This year, we are going into a world where AI is collaborating. That means it can actually do stuff. So now I can actually ask AI, build me a new website, use the color scheme that I already have, and it will build you a brand new website in 15 minutes, maybe 20. So that is AI as a collaborator. I believe that the next couple of years, we are going to enter into something called AI pioneering. That is when AI will actually tell us what we should be doing. And before people get worried, think about it. You have 500 PhDs working 24 hours, 7 days a week, that have access to all your company's database, your contracts, and the entirety of the internet in its palms. And imagine having 500,000 PhDs. So largely, humans have been asking, oh, I'm going to do this. How can ChatGPT help me? But 2027, you could imagine that you just get a message from your internal company's Slack channel or Teams message or email by an AI system that says, oh, I've already looked at X amount of contracts, and these are some of the new projects we should be doing. This is happening 100%. There's no question about that, because no human can compete with that level of intelligence. So we believe, and we're designing, and by the way, some of you may have heard about artificial general intelligence. That's sort of what it is, where AI will be finally suggesting things for us to be doing. Humans are still in control. Don't worry, you still have to click yes or agree to it. But AI will get substantially smarter and smarter. And the final thing is, imagine when AI can write a white paper or an investment thesis. Where do you invest your money? Where is the next big growth engine? And AI can actually do the entire research, test the market, build prototypes, build new solutions, and bring it to you, just like an employee or human employee does today. So we believe AI will be almost indistinguishable from a human employee. In your org charts, they will show up with actual names. Like you will literally be able to view them in your organization chart. And these are the AI systems that will be able to do this on their own. So finally, going back, this is going to be a very different era. We believe this AI is not a temporary technology. This is not a short-term solution. This is a transformational technology. And I view this something similar to the internet or electricity. Just how internet changed every single industry, or electricity changed every single industry hundreds of years ago. But if I ask you, what's the benefit of internet? Or what's the benefit of electricity? You're going to have different answers. I'm literally flying to Dubai after this. You ask someone from Dubai, what's the benefit of electricity? They'll say air conditioning. But it depends. So just like that, you will not be able to give one benefit of AI because it's going to impact so many different things. And the biggest thing, it's going to allow the non-technical people that did not know coding, that do not know anything, the ability to build and design products. And that's going to be massively disruptive in the world of fintech. Again, I view this both as a challenge and an opportunity. And my call to action for everyone here is think about the future world, because you have to put the foundations today. You don't go to a building contractor and say, you know what, I'm going to design or build a building. Why don't you get started? And I'm going to share how many floors I'm going to build. No one's going to design a building. Everyone will say, I need to know what you're building. Is it a 5-story building or a 10-story building? So our message is that technology in AI is such a core building block that you have to invest today, because that the next world is going to be super, super impactful. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.